To the Prime Minister, does he stand by all of his government statements and actions?
The Honourable David Seymour.
Mr Speaker, yes, and particularly the government introducing legislation which has led to New Zealanders up and down this country being able to vote on whether their council should have Māori wards. Having the same basic democratic rights and duties regardless of background is a critical cornerstone of our democracy, and now, thanks to this government, New Zealanders up and down the country will get to have a say about whether that is the policy in their council.
Supplementary. Who speaks for the government? The Prime Minister, who says he wants modest, consistent house price increases, or the Housing Minister, who says that it's good that house prices are dropping and the government is trying to drive house prices down?
Mr Speaker, the facts are that the government cannot set house prices, and I would be alarmed if any party in this House had that as their plan. What the government is doing is introducing policies that will make it easier for New Zealanders to build more homes, and in that sense, both of them are speaking for the government, because the final track of housing will depend on a range of factors. What we're doing is fixing what matters through Resource Management Act reform, Building Act reform, infrastructure funding, so that wages can grow faster than house prices, which is what we should all want for New Zealand's future.
So is it the government's goal for house prices to go up or down?
Mr Speaker, we seem to be having a communication or comprehension problem on behalf of the Leader of the Opposition. My previous answer clearly stated that the government's goal is to make it easier to build a home. We're doing Resource Management Act reform, wonderful work by Chris Bishop and Simon Court. We are doing Building Act reform, wonderful work by Chris Pink, the Minister for Building and Housing. And we are doing infrastructure funding and finance reform across a range of portfolios. Now, what that means is that it is easier and more affordable to build a home, and that means the next generation has ladders of opportunity to be part of a property-owning democracy, something that got further and further into the distance under the previous government's housing inflation.
Order, Mr Speaker. I don't think anyone will be any the wiser as to whether or not the government's position is that house prices should go up or down as a result of that answer.
Well,
I'm happy to repeat the question if the member has a comprehension problem with it.
No, you can ask his...
Problem's all yours, buddy.
When I'm speaking, no one else is. You can most certainly use your supplementaries to ask another question if you wish, but you can't ask me to judge the quality of a question. That's never been the case.
Supplementary. Was Chris Bishop wrong when he said, quote, the government is trying to drive house prices down, end quote?
Mr Speaker, no, he was not, because, as I have explained and will now explain for the third time, I suspect the rest of New Zealand's got it, but for the benefit of the Leader of the Opposition, many of the policies that the government is introducing are policies that will increase the supply elasticity of housing, and that will, other things being equal, make it more affordable. However, it is also true that as New Zealand's economy grows under the policy of this government, as New Zealanders become wealthier, as they bid higher prices for housing, they may well end up pushing prices up.
So was Christopher Luxon wrong when he said, quote, or that the government wants, quote, modest, consistent house price increases?
Mr Speaker, it reminds me of when I used to tutor Econ 101. Let me explain to the Leader of the Opposition. On the one hand, we want New Zealanders to be wealthier, we want our population to grow, we want people to be bidding to raise house prices, and on the other hand, we want to make it easier to build them. Both of us want economic growth, less red tape, less regulation, and I just wish that the Leader for the Opposition would get on board.
Well, supplementary. So who speaks for the government on housing intensification? David Seymour, who says that Auckland Council's plan will bring significant change to the character of New Zealand's oldest suburb, or Chris Bishop, who's called criticism of the plan frankly nuts?
Mr Speaker, I also have heard Chris Bishop say that local MP should advocate for the interests of their constituents, and it is certainly true that the plan will change the character of the city. That is absolutely true. So I guess once again, despite this member's attempts to divide us, we're both right.
So is the government's position that therefore housing intensification and more deregulation around building more houses, except in Epsom?
Mr Speaker, well, that's not true at all. For example, the Epsom electorate contains the Mount Eden train station, where I expect and support there will be a lot more people living to take advantage of that upgrade in infrastructure. On the other hand, there are parts of the Epsom electorate, indeed parts of Auckland and every city, which have very old infrastructure that is crumbling, in some cases leaking sewage into the sea, and it would be foolhardy to intensify in those areas. And that's one reason why this government has reversed the previous government's policy of allowing three-storey houses on any section, including floodplains, because the previous government did some dumb stuff, but that was among the stupidest.